Glad that we're together. Let's get started. We need to have a conversation. Thank all of you that are joining in from the mother campus, Greenwood, South Carolina, for all those that are part of the satellite campus in Greenville, and of course to the virtual campus and all of our global connections. We're not going to waste your time this evening. We're going to get right into it. The topic was be a helper, not a hater. Kind of like, okay, what does this have to do with pennies to dollars? Your attitude and our attitude plays a great role in how we collect, handle, receive, and seek to earn money or build wealth. So this evening, we're going to work from Genesis 37 all the way up to 47. We're not going to read all of that, but this came kind of bored out of a conversation that people asked, well, how did Joseph get in this particular type of situation? Why is his brothers now becoming servants of Pharaoh? And I want to explain that to us. This is why I said be a helper and not a hater. So as we get started, number one thing I want you to realize is that some people don't even know the value of your name. And I know there's a lot of names out there now that some can pronounce and some can't, but some names have significant meaning. I think all names do, but some names have a greater maybe call or purpose to them. And so when we look at the name of Joseph, this is how it all starts. First of all, that name means he will add or God will add. So now, first of all, if God has assigned someone, I want those that are writing to start off right out with this. Find the dreamer. Find the dreamer in your family. Find the dreamer in your life. Find a person, because it's better to be a helper than a hater. Because hating doesn't stop the dream. It delays it. And I was researching, and actually Joseph was delayed or in exile from his family for 93 years. Do you have another 93 or another 10 or 20 to waste in family bickering and family arguing? And I don't agree with it. I don't like it. And so this, long story short, they were jealous. And anytime that you have a specific gift or call or anointing, as church people would say, it rubs people the wrong way. Now, you have to remember this, number two. You can be the Caleb to the dreamer. If you go back and look in the biblical context, there was Joshua, then there was Caleb. Joshua received the assignment. The Lord said, my servant Moses is dead, and now I need you to pick up the pieces. Caleb was with him. This was at the age of 20. It took 45 years for Caleb to get in the promised land because of unbelieving people. How many people do you hang out with and socialize with? And because they're familiar, they can't handle the dreams or the ideas or the concept that you have for yourself and to share with your brothers and sisters, whether they're blood or not. But most people want to lead when they don't have a dream. So let me give them something. Are you gifted? Are you anointed? Or were you appointed? Or were you assigned? People who are really gifted are normally the ones that people work against. And so they're exiled. They don't want you at the cookout. They don't want you to come around. But your dream means something. And one of the things I studied and found significant for those who were inquiring is that Joseph tried to tell his brothers, this is not me. This is divine intervention from God. But because they were complacent, number three, many people that you're associating with can't see, don't want, and can't dream. And God didn't give it to them. That's sad to say. And if he didn't give it to you, then your assignment is be a helper to the one that can. Caleb, when they got to the promised land, received everything that God had told him. You don't lose your place because you assist other people. The problem with most people is everybody's trying to be independent when you don't have the skill set to be independent. And dreamers are normally not single-minded. They are plural-minded, which means it includes everybody because it's going to take a pack to bring the dream to reality than just one individual working in the dark, him or herself, just trying their best. You have to scale up. So don't let complacency be do not, what did I say? Complacency is not the answer. Yes, complacency. And here's the thing. Are you resisting it or are you supporting it? Because here's what they did. They were jealous. And so his father was like, oh God, he's got some kind of divine intervention. Thumbs down. We don't like him. He's your favorite. And he may have had favoritism toward him. So you know what they did? They sold him to slave traders. Now this is going to sting. How many people have you sold out rather than stood up for and helped? I'll wait. Because some people have the mindset, if it's not them, it should be nobody. And so here's the thing that I started out with before I chose this subject was simple. Check your attitude. Because your attitude plays a lot. That's number 4. Your attitude plays a big role in what you're willing to hear. And if you can't hear, you can't listen. If you can't listen, you can't learn. And so sometimes you have an attitude, not with a person. You have an attitude because you resist something that God didn't give you. And so then they sold him. So he had his trials, he had his tribulations, he had dreams. And so eventually he scaled up. His brothers were still where they left him. Now, here's the kicker. How do you have a gift? And I brought this up last week, a gift. And you go give your gift to someone because you can't manage your gift. How can someone rule over a gift that you were gifted? But because you lack, number 5, discipline. Number 6, focus. Number 7, attention to details. So you just, okay. So now you have to go tell someone who is a dictator. Hey, you need somebody to do something. And the person that you resisted had to take you to the person now that's going to rule over you. And his dad knew that they were going to be ruled so long that he said, when I die, I got to be here till I die because I hate the dreamer. I don't want to line up with God's divine intervention. I don't want to line up with the one that God chose. And God normally chooses the one that don't nobody like. So if you're that person, I'm talking to you. And if you're that person that's trying to hold somebody back, you're not going to get ahead by holding your brothers and sisters, whether they're family or whether they're constituents, back. You need to learn and pray and get before God and ask God to help you be a helper. Because I don't want to say it bad and ugly, but if you can't see, you can't see, boo-boo. So what you doing? You just holding up the train and don't even have a ticket to ride. I'm going to let that sink in for a moment. So I'm saying to you, those that are gifted, find a space to be supportive to them. Here's what they have that most people don't have. And let me go back to bread. Because I listen to that. A lot of people want money, but don't have the discipline to know how to handle money. Now, why is this significant and important as we're supposed to talk about pennies to dollars? Is that if you have no principles, all you have is holes in your bucket. If you have no principles, if you have no values, if you don't have strong character and strong integrity, anything that you gain will be wasted. Because you don't have the structure and infrastructure and the discipline to maintain it. And when someone comes along and try to help or assist you, you beef it. And it sometimes is your attitude that cuts your blessing. Instead of trying to lead, learn how to support, because Caleb said, hey, God told him wherever his feet go, he could possess that land. And Caleb said, I have preserved myself, and I have young men with me that we can take this mountain. And to this day, they still have control of that mountain. You could build a legacy, but as long as your attitude is not lined up, you can't use the resources. So, number one, find the person, or this is another set, find the person with vision. Vision, that person is committed. They're unwavering in their belief in God and the processes of life. I'll say it again. Find that person that's a dreamer and align with them. And if you have spiritual insight, you will have spiritual foresight, and you will align with a person, not because you're comfortable. Because when you start aligning, you got to remove in order to receive. If there are things in your life, see, most people just want to pile up on the wagon. They have one donkey and they're trying to put, and the donkey capacity is maybe 600 pounds, and they're trying to put 5,000 pounds on a donkey to ride out. The donkey may start out, but does not have the capacity for the weight, because there's some things in our lives that we're going to have to get rid of and move out of that behavior so we can receive our bread. Because sometimes it's not other people that's holding your bread. It is the attitude you have about your bread. And when you receive your bread, you don't know how to handle your bread. So we got to realize something. Short-sightedness never wins. And short-sighted people can't see past what's in front of them. Some people are captivated by the moment. They only see this moment. They only see controlling this moment. Here's something. This, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8. I'm going back to that list. It's time for separation. Separate yourself from non-visionaries. Separate yourself from haters and doubters. And most of the time, you don't mind the doubters because they don't talk that loud. The haters are the ones that's most closest to you. They will cause you the most pain. And if you don't create separation, you cannot spread your wings or begin to build the vision. So who's in your circle really matters. So you have to understand separation from non-visionaries, people who can't see it. There are people that are crying for the most help. And the people that are crying for the most help are the ones who refuse to listen and learn. I'll say that again. Many people who are crying for the most help and need the most are the people who are unwilling to listen to learn. They want something done, but they move nothing for something to be done. I'll say it again and slow it down. Yes, they want it. And no one would say that they didn't probably deserve it. But they won't move something so something can be done. Because sometimes the lack of focus, the attitude, the behaviors will hinder what can be placed in your life so you can grow it. Why would you plant a seed in soil that's not fertilized and keep changing every time you turn around? Because what has to happen for someone who wants to be a helper, they have to have the willingness to receive and be planted and engage in growth. See, what we want to do is stay over there and be blessed over there when over there is a barren land and cannot meet the need that you have today. It may have met your initial need. So what does that mean in lay terms? Go back and try to put on the first pair of shoes that your parents ever purchased you. If your foot is a size 16, 15, 12, 11, go back and try to fit in a size 00 and see how well it works. There are some things you have outgrown, but then there's some things you're frightful of because it's going to change you for the better, but you happen to be in love with you. And that puts me in the mind of the 5 wise and the 5 foolish. Because his brothers didn't even understand his name. If they would have kept the bread in the house, Pharaoh may have had to come to them. But because they were jealous of the bread and didn't understand the intent and purpose of the name, that he will add. You want to be around somebody who can add to your life and not just celebrate your moment. Because after that moment, tell me what's next. So you got to realize that in the Bible, the name Joseph means God will add. There are ministries that can add to you, and there are ministries that just keep you where you are. You have to make up your mind where you want to be. Now, here's the thing. When you see God, and we all going to see him, and I tell people all the time at a eulogy, everybody going to see God. We're just all not going to get to stay. So you have to determine in your mind and live your life with principles is how do I answer to God? It isn't the church you got to answer to. It isn't the preacher or whatever it is, because we get titles every day. It's God. You don't even have to believe him. You don't even have to like him. You don't even have to expect the invitation, but you're going to be there. There is something in the universe bigger than us. And so when you get there, what are you going to tell him? I really didn't believe in you, but I believe in you today. It's a little late, Jody. Well, I really didn't go to church. I mean, it was boring. I didn't like the people, but you went everywhere else. So you want a blessing on roller skates. You want your blessings to skate right on up to you, and you keep them and you keep going. At some point, you got to pay the fiddler. And so God mentions that your life needs to represent his spirit. Now, to the old church, that would be, he said, be ye holy, for I am holy. So if you think you can answer to God with the conscience, just like his brothers had to become slaves because they sold the bread in the house, they sold the revelation that was born in the family, they ignored the gift of God for self-indulgence and jealousy. Wow, man. I'm going to try to get to heaven because I want to be there to hear those stories. That's either horses riding in or horses riding out. You pick your horse. You can be a helper, and your reward is in heaven, and he will bless you on earth. Here's the thing. You are a citizen of earth and heaven. How then, my brother, how then, my sister, do you answer to God when you refuse the path that he set for you? He said it in his word. He said, thy word is a lamp unto my path. So you're going to tell God, I don't need your word. Just send me the blessings. Okay, cool. We'll see how well that work out. Here's the thing. Here's what visionaries do. They are prepared when other people don't even see vision. Which one are you? Here is an opportunity for you to rediscover, reinvent, and reposition yourself. You want to be on the side of the helps or the haters. Because here's the thing. If you're not preparing, and the only thing that you're preparing for is what you receive, that's going to be short-lived. Number 3, the visionary or the person with the vision always creates a plan. Most people are just living life day by day. They have no strategies. Here's the thing that I noticed that Joseph brothers didn't do. And you know what that was? They didn't build a generational set of teams. What does that mean? You have the opportunity for your family to be set up for generations to generations, regardless of who's in charge and what's being said. It does not excuse you for not voting. But your family can be strategically so in place that your grandchildren and great-grandchildren that you've never seen will be blessed because you understood the vision and the process of how to handle it. They had the person with the most knowledge in their family, but he was the most hated person. People with dreams always have a problem with people who can't see any farther than their hands. Now, here's the difference between the hater, the helper. The visionary puts together a team along with him or herself that can execute the vision. If you're somewhere still trying to make up your mind and don't know and finding excuses and don't want to understand that every visionary and every vision has rough waters waiting or they're in. So you might need to figure out, am I a helper or am I a hater? Because a hater gonna hate, but a hater can't stop the vision. They can delay it. Because Joseph was in exile away from his family for 93 years. And it's a shame they had the bread in their house and the system and the strategy and the planning in their house, and yet they sold it. How many dreams and ideas have you just left on the table? How many ideas are sketched on a pad that could, with a little work, with a little time, with a little bit of collaboration, could really do strong things for you and your family, but it doesn't happen overnight? So the question that I get ready to close with, who is going to execute this? Who is going to be the person or the group? And I'd rather be a helper than a hater, because a hater doesn't stop it. A helper can be just as blessed as the visionary than anything. Look at Caleb. He stuck with Joshua. No one stuck with Joseph. So the enemy received the vision to come in and control the people that were supposed to be the people of God. You need to think about that. As I close, here's the last thing that I would say to the visionary, to the person that's a visionary, to the helper. We must develop an appetite for learning. And if we develop an appetite for learning, it spins off into accountability, responsibility. Those two things turn into principles, turns into infrastructure so we can build structure. Don't worry about who gets the glory. Do it to the glory of God and watch God bless you and put you in a place where the haters can't be. I look to see you soon. God bless you.